We're charging you $700 a month for family membership, Mom announced, as calmly as if she were telling me the price of a streaming subscription. For a second, I thought I had misheard her. We were sitting around my parents' dining table on a Sunday afternoon. My father was carving roast chicken. My younger sister, Vanessa, was scrolling through her phone while her 3 children argued over who had touched whose juice. Her husband, Ryan, stared at his plate with the quiet exhaustion of a man who had stopped participating in decisions years ago. I put down my fork. Family membership? Mom smiled, but there was no humor in it. Everyone contributes to the children's activities: soccer, gymnastics, piano, summer camps. They're growing, Allison. These things are expensive. I looked at Vanessa. She did not even have the decency to look embarrassed. Her oldest son, Noah, was 11. Her daughter, Chloe, was 8. The youngest, Mason, had just turned 5. I loved them. I had attended school plays, helped with homework, bought birthday gifts, and spent entire Saturdays driving them to activities whenever Vanessa claimed she was overwhelmed. But they were not my children, and I was the only adult at that table who did not have kids. "How much is everyone paying?" I asked. Dad's knife stopped against the cutting board. He gave me the look he had used throughout my childhood whenever I asked a question he considered disrespectful. "This isn't an audit, Allison." "I'm a math teacher. Questions about numbers aren't personal to me." Vanessa sighed dramatically. "Oh my God, here we go." Mom folded her hands. "Your father and I are contributing through other means. We host Sunday dinners. We provide childcare. Ryan contributes as their father. Vanessa contributes her time. And I contribute $700? You have the most disposable income, Dad said. I nearly laughed. I taught mathematics at a public high school. I lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment where the second bedroom was half office and half storage room. I drove a 9-year-old Toyota. I packed my lunch every morning and taught evening tutoring sessions 3 nights a week because my salary alone did not stretch as far as my family imagined. Vanessa, meanwhile, lived in a 4-bedroom house that my parents had helped her buy. She drove a new SUV. She ordered food 4 times a week. Her social media was an endless collection of salon visits, brunches, concert tickets, and carefully staged photographs captioned with phrases like, "Making memories with my babies." "What happens if I don't pay?" I asked. Dad leaned back. "Then don't expect to be included in family activities." There it was. Not a request. Not even guilt disguised as generosity. A fee. $700 a month to remain a daughter, sister, and aunt. Vanessa looked up from her phone and smiled. "It's cheaper than having kids of your own." Everyone laughed, even Mom. Ryan did not laugh, but he kept his eyes on his plate. I was 32 years old, single as far as they knew, and childless as far as they knew. My family treated both facts as evidence that my life had failed to begin. Dad regularly referred to my teaching job as playing school. Mom introduced me to strangers by saying, "This is Allison. She's still figuring out what she wants." Vanessa liked to joke that I spent my weekends alphabetizing textbooks because nobody invited me anywhere. None of them knew that I had been dating Daniel for almost 3 years. None of them knew we were engaged. We had kept our relationship private because Daniel had met my family twice and immediately understood what I had spent decades trying to excuse. He was a civil engineer, quiet and observant. After the second dinner with my parents, he had said, "They don't talk to you. They evaluate what you can provide." I had defended them. I told him Dad was old-fashioned. I said Mom avoided conflict. I explained that Vanessa was under pressure raising 3 children. Daniel did not argue. He simply said, "You're allowed to stop earning your place in a family you were born into." At the time, I thought he was being too harsh. Sitting at that dining table, listening to them calculate the price of my presence, I finally understood he had been too generous. Still, I smiled. "That's fair," I said. Vanessa blinked. Mom's shoulders relaxed. Dad nodded as if I had passed a test. "I'll pay." For the next 6 months, $700 left my bank account on the first day of every month. $4,200 in total. And for those 6 months, I watched carefully. I stopped arguing. I stopped defending myself. I stopped asking why. I simply collected numbers. because one thing my family had always forgotten was that I did not just teach mathematics. I trusted patterns. And once you recognize a pattern, it becomes almost impossible to pretend it is random. The first payment went out in March. 2 days later, Vanessa posted photographs from a spa. She and Mom wore white robes and held glasses of champagne beneath a caption that read, "Self-care is not selfish when you give everything to your family." I stared at the post during my lunch break while 28 teenagers completed a quiz on quadratic equations. That evening, I asked Mom whether the soccer registration had gone through. She paused before answering. "Of course." "Do you have the receipt?" "Why would you need the receipt?" "For my records." Dad took the phone from her. "Stop interrogating your mother." "I'm not interrogating anyone." "You agreed to contribute. You don't get to control how the family manages the money." That sentence stayed with me. The family. Not Vanessa, not the children. The family managed the money. The second month, Chloe's gymnastics program was supposedly in danger because the fees had increased. Vanessa sent 12 messages to the family group chat about how devastated Chloe would be if she had to quit. I transferred the $700. A week later, Vanessa arrived at Sunday dinner carrying a designer handbag. Mom noticed me looking at it. "It was on sale." I didn't ask. "You were thinking it," Vanessa laughed. "Allison thinks anything nice is irresponsible because she shops at discount stores." Dad added, "That's the teacher mentality, scarcity thinking." The others laughed. I smiled and ate my dinner. The third month, Noah needed new soccer equipment. The fourth, Mason needed a specialized summer learning camp because Vanessa claimed he might be academically gifted. I offered to assess him. I had worked with gifted students for 11 years. Vanessa refused. "You're too close to him emotionally." The camp cost exactly $725. At least, that was what she told me. Later, I found the camp website. The full 6-week program cost $480. The fifth month, Mom informed me that family membership fees would also cover emergency transportation. The next weekend, Vanessa arrived in a new SUV. Not brand new, she emphasized, certified pre-owned, only $42,000. When I asked what had happened to the previous SUV, Dad said, "A woman with 3 children needs dependable transportation." My Toyota had failed to start twice that winter. Dad had told me to watch online videos and learn how to maintain it better. By June, my role had expanded beyond payments. Vanessa asked me to drive Noah to soccer practice on Tuesdays because she had a yoga class. Mom asked me to tutor Chloe for free because you're already a teacher. Dad asked me to review a financing agreement for a renovation he was considering. When I hesitated, he reminded me that family membership was not only financial. "We all contribute," he said. "What does Vanessa contribute?" "She's raising the next generation." "What do I contribute besides money, transportation, tutoring, and paperwork?" He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, "You contribute because somebody has to." The public humiliation began gradually. At first, it was disguised as teasing. Vanessa posted a photograph of me sitting alone at Noah's soccer game while the rest of the family bought snacks. The caption read, "Our family's official unpaid accountant finally left her calculator at home." Several cousins added laughing emojis. Dad commented, "Careful, she'll invoice us for the sunlight." I did not respond. At the next Sunday dinner, Aunt Linda asked whether I had found a real man yet. Before I could answer, Vanessa said, "She has standards no human can meet. That's why she prefers equations." More laughter. Mom gave me a sympathetic smile. "They're only joking." That was Mom's role in the family. Dad cut, Vanessa twisted. Mom placed a napkin over the wound and asked me not to bleed on the furniture. By August, the family group chat had become a daily performance built around my supposed failures. Vanessa shared a meme about single women becoming cat ladies. Dad tagged me. A cousin posted a photograph from a barbecue I had missed because I was tutoring. Dad wrote, "Allison couldn't attend. Her imaginary board meeting ran late." I was developing an online mathematics course for struggling high school students. I had spent nearly a year recording lessons, creating practice materials, and testing different teaching methods. When I mentioned the project, Dad called it playing influencer. Vanessa posted a screenshot of my tiny educational channel, which had 83 subscribers at the time. She wrote, "Please support my sister's midlife crisis." The post received 37 laughing reactions. One came from Mom. That hurt more than I wanted to admit. Daniel found me crying in the bathroom that night. I had turned on the shower so he would not hear. He sat on the closed toilet lid while I tried to explain why a tiny yellow laughing face beneath my mother's name felt worse than every insult my father had made. She knows, I said. That's the thing. She knows how they treat me. Daniel handed me a towel. Yes. She knows, and she still joins in. Yes. I looked at him. You're supposed to tell me I'm overreacting. No, you've had enough people doing that. He did not tell me what to do. He never did. He simply stayed beside me until I could breathe normally again. That night, I opened a folder on my computer and named it Family Membership. I saved every screenshot, every payment confirmation, every message asking for money, every public joke, every photograph of purchases made shortly after my transfers. I created a spreadsheet. Date, amount, stated purpose, actual expense, contradictory evidence. I taught my students that numbers could reveal relationships hidden beneath noise. Now my own life became a data set. The results were ugly. Over 6 months, I had transferred $4,200 in membership fees. I had also spent $1,860 on gifts, transportation, groceries, tutoring materials, and emergency requests. The children's documented activities accounted for less than $1,500. Even if I assumed every claimed expense was legitimate, more than $4,000 remained unexplained. In September, I discovered where some of it had gone. Ryan called me after 11 at night. He rarely contacted me directly. His voice sounded strained. Is Vanessa with you? No. She said she was going to your apartment. She isn't here. There was a long silence. Then he said, I need to ask you something, and I need you not to tell her. All right. Have you been sending your mother $700 a month? I sat up in bed. How do you know? I found a spreadsheet on our shared laptop. My heart began beating faster. What spreadsheet? She has a folder called Activities. There are deposits from you, your parents, and me. But the payments aren't going where she says. Where are they going? Credit cards, shopping, restaurants, part of the SUV deposit. I closed my eyes. How much are you contributing? $1,000 a month. And my parents? He gave a humorless laugh. Nothing. Your dad has been taking $300 from the account every month. For what? I don't know. Can you send me the spreadsheet? I already did. An email arrived while we were still speaking. The file was detailed. Vanessa had kept records because Vanessa believed organization was the same as intelligence. There were columns for every contribution. Ryan, $1,000 monthly. Allison, $700 monthly. Mom and Dad, listed as in-kind family leadership. Actual cash contribution? 0. Then came the withdrawals. SUV deposit, credit card minimums, beauty salon, concert tickets, restaurant charges. A transfer to Dad marked consulting. Only a fraction had gone to the children. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Ryan exhaled slowly. Because I'm leaving her. I did not speak. I should have left a long time ago, he continued. But every time I tried, your parents told me I'd destroy the kids. Vanessa said she'd tell everyone I was abusive. She has voice recordings she claims prove it. Are they real? Some are. They're arguments, but she edits things. She takes sentences out of context. My hand tightened around the phone. Do you have proof? I copied the shared drive before she changed the password. He sent another link. There were audio files, edited video clips, screenshots, and draft social media posts. One folder was labeled Allison. Inside it were images of text conversations I had never had. In one, I supposedly called Vanessa's children financial parasites. In another, I threatened to report Ryan for neglect. There was an audio file titled, Allison admits she hates the kids. I played it. My own voice filled the bedroom. I can't keep doing this. A sharp cut. I hate. Another cut. The kids! I recognized every fragment. The first came from a voicemail about covering extra classes at school. The second came from a conversation where I had said I hated driving in ice. The third came from a message about buying gifts for the kids. Vanessa had stitched them together. The finished recording lasted 6 seconds. It was crude, but convincing enough for people who already wanted to believe the worst about me. Daniel listened beside me. When it ended, he looked genuinely frightened. She planned to use that. There are drafts. One draft was a Facebook post. For years, I protected my sister because I knew she struggled with jealousy and mental health issues. But after what she said about my children, I can't stay silent. Beneath it, Vanessa had listed several relatives to tag. There was also a note. Post if Allison stops paying or creates problems. I felt cold. Not angry. Not yet. Cold. This was not a spontaneous lie. It was insurance. Vanessa had prepared a weapon in case I ever stopped being useful. Ryan said there was more. He had found emails between Vanessa and Mom. Mom knew about the fake audio. In one message, she wrote, "Don't post it unless Allison becomes difficult. She's sensitive about appearances, so the threat may be enough." Mom knew. My quiet mother. My peacekeeping mother. My mother, who always insisted she hated conflict, had helped Vanessa prepare a public attack against me. There were messages from Dad, too. His were shorter. "Keep pressure on her. She can afford it. No husband, no kids. What else does she spend money on?" And finally, "If she leaves, tell everyone she abandoned the children." I read that sentence until the words blurred. Daniel closed the laptop. "That's enough for tonight." "No. Allison, I need to know everything." "You know enough to protect yourself." "I don't know enough to understand why." He looked at me with heartbreaking patience. "Because understanding why cruel people hurt you won't make them less cruel." That was the sentence that finally broke me. I cried until sunrise. Not because of the money, not because of the fake recording. I cried because some part of me had spent 32 years believing there was a correct answer to my family. That if I worked harder, gave more, stayed calmer, or explained myself clearly enough, I could solve them. But there are equations with no solution. There are systems designed to remain unequal. The next morning, I changed the password on every account they knew about. I froze my credit. I downloaded every file Ryan sent. I backed the evidence up to 2 encrypted hard drives and placed one in Daniel's office safe. Then I called Mom. "I'm ending the family membership payments." Silence. She did not ask why. She knew. "Is this about Vanessa's joke online?" "No." "Then what is it about?" "I'm done paying." "You committed for the year." "I signed nothing." "Your sister budgeted around that money." "That was her mistake." Mom's voice hardened. "You understand this means you can't expect invitations." "I understand. Birthdays, holidays, vacations. We can't have people participating only when it suits them." "Understood." "You're willing to abandon your niece and nephews over $700? "No. I'm ending a financial arrangement." "That sounds selfish." "I'll survive." Then Dad took the phone. "You think you can punish this family?" "I'm not punishing anyone." "You stop paying, you stop belonging." I looked across the kitchen at Daniel. He nodded once. Then I stopped belonging. I ended the call. That same afternoon, Mom removed me from the family group chat. Vanessa blocked me on Facebook. Dad posted, "Sometimes the people without responsibilities are the quickest to abandon those carrying the heaviest burdens." Several relatives commented that they were praying for him. Aunt Linda wrote, "Some people only care about money." No one used my name. They did not need to. 2 days later, Vanessa posted the edited audio, my 6-second manufactured confession. My relatives reacted exactly as she had predicted. Cousins called me disgusting. An uncle wrote that anyone who hated children had something missing in her soul. Dad shared the post publicly and added, "This is what jealousy sounds like." Mom sent me a private message. "Please don't respond emotionally. You'll only make things worse." I stared at it for several minutes. Then I took a screenshot and added it to the folder. I did not defend myself. I did not post the original recordings. I did not expose the spreadsheet. Not yet. Instead, I disappeared. I stopped attending birthdays. I skipped Thanksgiving. I spent Christmas with Daniel and his parents, who gave me a stocking with my name embroidered on it and asked about my students as if my work mattered. In January, Daniel and I married in a small courthouse ceremony. His parents attended. 2 friends attended. My family did not know. 3 weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. For the first time in my life, I held news that belonged entirely to me. And I knew, with a certainty that surprised me, that my family would not be allowed near it. Pregnancy changed the shape of time. Weeks became fruit sizes, appointments, and quiet fears. Daniel attended every ultrasound. He learned how to assemble a crib by watching 6 different instructional videos and distrusting all of them equally. I kept teaching until the final month. My students noticed before I announced it. A sophomore named Maya raised her hand in the middle of a lesson on exponential growth and asked, "Miss Carter, are you pregnant, or is this another situation where we're not supposed to comment on someone's body?" The class went silent. I laughed for the first time in days. I am pregnant. 28 teenagers erupted as if I had announced a national holiday. They made prediction charts for the birth date. They calculated possible height ranges using parental averages. Someone created a probability tree for baby names. Their joy was uncomplicated. No one asked what the baby would provide. No one calculated what I owed them in return. My principal helped arrange maternity leave. My colleagues brought meals. Daniel's mother came to stay for 2 weeks after the birth and somehow managed to help without making me feel incompetent. Our son, Oliver, was born on October 18th at 3:42 in the morning. 7 pounds, 9 ounces. Dark hair. A serious little frown that made him look offended by the entire concept of being born. When the nurse placed him on my chest, I felt something inside me rearrange. I had expected love. I had not expected grief. I looked at my son and suddenly understood how small I must once have been, how completely dependent, how naturally worthy of protection. I could not imagine making him pay for affection. I could not imagine watching someone humiliate him and calling it a joke. I could not imagine telling him he had to earn the right to belong. Daniel saw me crying. "Are you hurting?" "No." "What is it?" I touched Oliver's tiny hand. "I don't understand how they did it." Daniel did not ask who I meant. He kissed my forehead. "You don't have to understand them to be different." For almost a year, my family knew nothing. They did not know I was married. They did not know I had moved into a house 40 minutes away. They did not know I had built my online mathematics course into a real business. The channel Dad had mocked grew from 83 subscribers to more than 90,000. Teachers shared my lessons. Parents purchased structured tutoring plans. I hired 2 former colleagues to help develop materials. We named the platform Clear Equation Learning. The income eventually surpassed my teaching salary, but I continued teaching part-time because I loved the classroom. My family saw fragments online but dismissed them. Dad told relatives I was pretending to be a businesswoman. Vanessa claimed I had bought followers. Mom occasionally emailed me vague messages. "Your father's blood pressure is worse. The children ask why you hate them. Christmas is difficult when someone chooses pride." I never answered. Ryan and Vanessa divorced 6 months after I stopped paying. He received shared custody. The financial records helped establish that Vanessa had hidden money and misrepresented expenses, but he did not expose everything publicly. He wanted stability for the children. I respected that. Once every few months, he sent me photographs of Noah, Chloe, and Mason. I mailed birthday gifts to his address. I never included messages about their mother. The children were not responsible for the adults around them. Vanessa discovered the gifts and posted that I was trying to buy secret access to her children. I saved the screenshot and continued living. Oliver's first year passed in exhausted, beautiful pieces. His first laugh, his first fever, his obsession with ceiling fans. The way he grabs Daniel's beard while drinking from a bottle. The tiny wrinkle between his eyebrows when I sang badly. We kept him off public social media, not because I was ashamed, because privacy had become sacred to me. Then, shortly after his first birthday, Clear Equation Learning reached 100,000 subscribers. My business partner, Lena, convinced me to do an interview for a local education magazine. The article focused on affordable tutoring resources, public education, and my transition from classroom teacher to educational entrepreneur. Near the end, the reporter asked what had motivated me to build the platform. I answered honestly. I wanted students to know that struggling with a problem does not mean they are the problem. The magazine sent a photographer to our house. One photograph showed me at my desk. Another showed Daniel and me standing in the kitchen with Oliver between us, laughing as he tried to steal my glasses. The article was published on a Thursday morning. By 9:10, one of my cousins had shared it in the family group chat. I was no longer a member, but Ryan still was. He sent me screenshots later. The first message came from Aunt Linda. "Is that a baby?" Then Mom. "Who is that child?" Vanessa. "That has to be someone else's baby." Dad. "Call Allison now." A cousin posted a zoomed-in screenshot of my wedding ring. Another found the county marriage record. Within 15 minutes, the chat had erupted. "She got married? When? Who is Daniel Carter? That baby looks almost a year old. Did anyone know? This is sick. She hid a child from his grandparents?" Mom called me 17 times in the first hour. Dad called 11. Vanessa called 23. By noon, I had more than 250 calls, texts, voicemails, and social media messages. Relatives I had not spoken to in years demanded explanations. People who had laughed at the fake recording wrote that family disputes should never involve children. Aunt Linda sent, "Whatever happened, your mother had a right to know she had a grandson." I did not answer. At 2 p.m., Mom left a voicemail. Her voice was shaking. "Allison, I don't understand what kind of person does this. I'm your mother. I carried you. I raised you. You had a wedding without us. You had a baby without us. You let us find out from strangers. Your father is devastated. Vanessa's children are confused. You need to call before this becomes unforgivable." Before this became unforgivable. I played that sentence twice. Then Dad left his message. His voice was lower, controlled, more dangerous. "You have exactly 1 day to explain yourself before I tell everyone what you've done. You don't get to erase a family because your feelings were hurt. That boy is my grandson. You will not keep him from me." Daniel listened from the doorway. "What do you want to do?" I looked at Oliver, sleeping against his shoulder. "Nothing." But my family was not finished. That evening, Vanessa posted publicly. The photograph was taken from the magazine article. She cropped Daniel out and circled Oliver's face in red. Her caption read, "Imagine discovering through the internet that your own sister secretly had a baby and hid him from loving grandparents, cousins, an aunt, and 3 innocent children. This is emotional abuse. Please pray that my sister gets the help she needs before that poor baby suffers too." The post spread quickly. My name was not included, but the magazine article was linked in the comments. Strangers began messaging my business page. Some accused me of parental alienation. Others left 1-star reviews on Clear Equation Learning without purchasing anything. Dad posted the fake audio again. This time he wrote, "She hated children before she had one. Now she uses her own child as a weapon." Mom shared it. That was the moment something in me became completely still. They had brought my son into it. Not by accident, not in anger, deliberately. They had taken his photograph and attached it to a lie. Daniel asked whether we should contact a lawyer. I already did. For years, I had imagined that confronting my family would feel like an explosion. Instead, it felt like solving a proof. You begin with what is known. You proceed step by step. You show that the conclusion is unavoidable. I called Ryan. Are you willing to attend a family meeting? He was silent for a moment. What kind of meeting? One where everything becomes public? What are you planning? I'm going to let them tell their story first. He exhaled. And then? Then I'll show the work. We scheduled the meeting for Sunday at my parents' house. They believed I was coming to apologize. Mom sent a message through Aunt Linda saying the whole family should attend because healing requires witnesses. That was perfect. I replied with one sentence. I agree. Everyone should hear everything. On Sunday afternoon, Daniel stayed home with Oliver. My family had never met my son. They would not meet him that day. I drove to my parents' house carrying a laptop, a small projector, a folder of printed documents, and the encrypted hard drive. When Dad opened the door, he did not greet me. He looked past me toward the driveway. Where's the baby? Safe. His face darkened. You came here without my grandson? Yes. Mom rushed from the kitchen. She looked older than I remembered, but her expression was familiar. Injured innocence mixed with calculation. Allison, please. We're trying to move forward. No, you're trying to gain access. Vanessa was in the living room, surrounded by relatives. She stood when I entered. I hope you understand that hiding a child is not normal. I set the laptop bag on the dining table. Neither is fabricating audio of your sister. The room changed. Just slightly. A shift in posture. A few eyes moved toward Vanessa. She recovered quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. I know. Dad stepped between us. This meeting is about the child. This meeting is about why you will never meet him. Mom made a wounded sound. Aunt Linda whispered, That's cruel. I turned toward her. You'll have an opportunity to decide that after you see the evidence. Dad struck the table with his palm. There is no trial here. You invited witnesses. This is a family discussion. Then let the family listen. For once, Dad did not know what I had. That frightened him. I connected the projector to the television. Vanessa folded her arms. This is dramatic, even for you. Ryan entered through the front door. Vanessa's face lost color. What is he doing here? Ryan closed the door behind him. Telling the truth. She looked at Mom. You said he wasn't coming. Mom looked away. I began with the payments. A spreadsheet appeared on the screen. 6 months, 6 transfers, $4,200. Then the additional expenses, transportation, tutoring, gifts, emergency money. I displayed Vanessa's private accounting file beside mine. Her column labeled Allison Membership matched every deposit. The withdrawal columns told the rest. SUV deposit, salon, Trent, restaurants, Dad's consulting payments. Aunt Linda leaned forward. What consulting? Dad crossed his arms. Family financial management. You took $1,800? I asked. It covered expenses. What expenses? Don't speak to me like a student. Then answer like an adult. His face reddened. Vanessa laughed too loudly. So what? Money is flexible. The kids benefited from having a reliable car and a healthy mother. I clicked to the next slide. The actual children's activity receipts appeared. Soccer, $320. Gymnastics, $540. Camp, $480. Music lessons, discontinued after 2 sessions. Total documented spending, $1,460. Total collected from Ryan and me during that period, $10,200. The room became quiet. Uncle Mark looked at Dad. You said you and Diane were contributing too. We contributed time, Mom said softly. Ryan spoke from the wall. They charged me for childcare on the days Diane watched the kids. Mom looked at him sharply. That was reimbursement. You told Allison it was your contribution. No one laughed now. I opened the email folder. Mom's messages appeared first. Don't post it unless Allison becomes difficult. She's sensitive about appearances. The threat may be enough. Mom stood. Those were private conversations. Yes. You had no right to read them. You were planning to blackmail me with fabricated evidence. That is not what blackmail means. I teach high school, Mom, not preschool. Dad moved toward the laptop. I stepped in front of it. Sit down. His eyes widened. No one told my father to sit down. Excuse me? You've spent my entire life assuming volume makes you correct. It doesn't. Sit down or leave. For several seconds, he stared at me. Then Uncle Mark said quietly, "Let her finish." Dad looked around the room. The automatic support he expected was not there. He sat. I played the 6-second audio Vanessa had posted. My voice said, "I can't keep doing this. I hate the kids." Aunt Linda shifted uncomfortably. "We've all heard it. Now hear the sources." I played the original voicemail. "I can't keep doing this much overtime. I'm exhausted." Then the second. "I hate driving when the roads are icy." Then the third. "I bought the gifts for the kids. They're in my trunk." The edits were obvious when placed together. Different rooms, different sound quality, different months. Vanessa's face hardened. "That proves nothing." Ryan placed a black hard drive on the table. I copied the project files. For the first time, Vanessa looked genuinely afraid. He opened the editing folder. The waveform appeared on the screen. 3 separate clips. Cut, reordered. Exported as, "Allison admits she hates the kids. Final." The file metadata showed Vanessa's user account and the date it was created. 2 weeks before I stopped paying. A cousin near the window whispered, "Jesus." Vanessa stood. "This is illegal. He stole my files." Ryan looked at her. "You used those files to threaten people." "I was protecting myself." "From Allison?" "From all of you." Her voice had changed. The charming victim disappeared. Something sharper replaced her. "You think she's innocent? She has always judged me. She has always acted like she's better because she has degrees and a job and savings. She loved watching me struggle." "I paid your bills," I said. "You made me feel poor while doing it." "I never told anyone I was paying." "That was worse. You got to be secretly superior." I stared at her. There it was, the logic I had searched for. My help had humiliated her because it proved she needed help. So she turned me into the villain before anyone could compare us honestly. Mom reached for Vanessa's hand. She was under enormous pressure. I looked at my mother. "You helped her." "I was trying to prevent conflict." "You prepared a fake recording to control me." "I never intended for her to post it." "But after she did, you shared it." Mom's eyes filled with tears. "I was angry." "No, you were comfortable." She flinched. I continued. "You were comfortable when Dad insulted me. Comfortable when Vanessa lied. Comfortable when relatives laughed. Comfortable taking my money. You weren't silent because you were afraid. You were silent because the system worked for you." Dad stood again. "That's enough." "No. Now we discuss my son." The room froze. I displayed Vanessa's recent post with Oliver's face circled in red. Then Dad's post using the fake audio. Then Mom's share. "These were published after you learned I had a child." Dad pointed at the screen. "You hid him." "Yes." "We had a right to know." "No." "We are his family." "No." His face twisted. "You can't erase blood." "I'm not erasing blood."
"I'm denying access. You will regret this when he asks about us." "I'll tell him the truth." Mom began crying. "What truth? That his grandmother loved him before she even met him?" "You didn't love him. You wanted him." "How dare you?" "You learned he existed and within hours posted his photograph without permission, linked him to a fabricated recording, and encouraged strangers to question whether I was fit to raise him. That was Vanessa. You shared it. I was emotional. You keep using emotion as if it erases decisions." Vanessa grabbed her purse. "I'm not staying for this.
Ryan stepped away from the door. No one is stopping you. She turned toward him. You think this makes you look good? You abandoned your family. I left after I found your folders. What folders? Aunt Linda asked. Ryan looked at me. I nodded. He connected the hard drive again. There were folders named after several people. Allison, Ryan, Jake, Mom, Dad, custody. Inside were edited screenshots, audio fragments, staged photographs, and draft accusations. Ryan opened the folder labeled custody. A document appeared. It contained a strategy for the divorce. Claim emotional intimidation. Mention anger around children. Use recording from kitchen argument. Say he controls money. If Allison supports him, release child-hating audio. Vanessa lunged for the laptop. Ryan closed it before she reached the table. You planned to accuse me of abuse, he said. You screamed at me. After you emptied our joint savings account. You made me feel unsafe. You wrote the accusation before the argument happened. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. That detail shattered the last defense. She had created the document on March 4th. The kitchen argument occurred on March 19th. Uncle Mark stood. I'm leaving. Dad pointed at him. You stay out of this. I have stayed out of it for 20 years. His voice was quiet. That was my mistake. Aunt Linda began crying. She looked at me. I didn't know. You didn't ask. I thought the audio was real. You wanted it to be real because it made laughing at me easier. She covered her mouth. I did not comfort her. Some truths are not cruel merely because they hurt. Dad turned toward Ryan. You brought this filth into my house. Ryan laughed without humor. It came from your daughter's hard drive. She is the mother of your children. And Allison is your daughter. Dad's jaw tightened. Ryan continued. You charged Allison $700 a month while telling everyone she was selfish. You took part of the money. You helped Vanessa lie. Then when Allison built a life without you, you demanded access to her child as if nothing happened. Dad stepped closer. You think you're a hero? No. I think I was a coward for too long. That admission changed the room more than any accusation. Ryan was not presenting himself as perfect. Neither was I. We had both tolerated things we should have confronted earlier. We had both stayed because leaving felt more frightening than being used. Mom sat down heavily. What do you want, Allison? It was the first honest question she had asked. Nothing. There must be something. There used to be. My voice shook, but I continued. I wanted Dad to respect me. I wanted Vanessa to see me as a sister instead of a resource. I wanted you to defend me once without being asked. I wanted to bring Daniel home and believe you wouldn't measure his usefulness. I wanted my son to have grandparents. Mom pressed a hand to her chest. Then let us try. No. People can change. You haven't changed. You've been caught. Dad laughed bitterly. So this is revenge? No. Revenge would require me to remain connected to what happens next. I removed a document from the folder and placed copies on the table. It was a formal cease and desist letter regarding the use of Oliver's photograph, defamatory statements, and fabricated recordings. My attorney's contact information appeared at the bottom. Dad picked it up. You hired a lawyer against your own parents? I hired a lawyer to protect my family. We are your family. I looked directly at him. No, you were my first family. You are not my final one. Mom began sobbing loudly. Vanessa called me heartless. Dad called me ungrateful. Aunt Linda whispered apologies. Several cousins left without speaking. I closed the laptop and unplugged the projector. Before I walked out, I placed the hard drive on the table. Vanessa stared at it. What is that? A copy? Of what? Everything you created. Her face went pale. Who else has it? My attorney. Ryan's attorney. And me. You're trying to destroy me. No, I'm preventing you from rewriting me. Dad followed me to the door. You walk out now. Don't come back. I turned. For years, those words would have terrified me. That day, they sounded like permission. I stopped coming back a long time ago. Then I left.
The public response began 2 days later. My attorney sent removal notices to the social media platforms. The post containing Oliver's photograph disappeared. Dad's repost of the fake audio was flagged. Vanessa published a long statement claiming she was the victim of stolen private files, financial control, and a coordinated smear campaign. She wrote that I had always resented her fertility and family life. That sentence almost made me laugh. My mother shared the statement and added, "There are two sides to every story, so I published mine. Not immediately, not emotionally. I spent 3 days preparing it. The video was 38 minutes long. I sat at the same desk where I recorded mathematics lessons. No dramatic music, no tears in the thumbnail, no insulting title. I called it When Family Support Becomes Financial Abuse: Receipts, Recordings, and Boundaries. I began with the membership demand. I showed the bank transfers. I showed the spreadsheet. I showed the actual expenses. I showed the public posts mocking me. I played the fabricated audio and then the original source recordings. I displayed the editing timeline without revealing private information about the children. I showed Mom's message advising Vanessa to use the audio if I became difficult. I showed Dad's instruction: if she leaves, tell everyone she abandoned the children. Then I addressed the birth announcement. My son was not hidden as punishment, I said into the camera. He was protected from people who had already demonstrated that they used private information as leverage, edited evidence, and publicized family conflict for control. Their reaction to discovering his existence proved the decision was correct. Within hours, they posted his image without consent and attached him to a false story. I did not ask viewers to attack anyone. I blurred addresses and the children's names. I told people not to contact my relatives. I ended with a statement I had rehearsed only once. I am not ashamed that I helped my family. Generosity was not my mistake. My mistake was believing generosity could purchase safety from people who considered love a subscription service. I paid for 6 months. The real price was much higher. The video spread faster than anything I had ever posted. At first, it circulated among teachers and people already following Clear Equation Learning. Then financial abuse advocates shared it. Then therapists. Then adult children from controlling families. Within a week, the video had more than 2 million views. Messages arrived from people who had spent years paying parents' mortgages, siblings' debts, nephews' tuition, and relatives' rent, while being called selfish for establishing limits. One woman wrote, "My family charges me for peace, too. I just never saw the invoice." That message stayed with me. The attention brought opportunities. A publisher contacted me about creating a practical mathematics book focused on financial literacy for teenagers. A nonprofit asked me to help develop free budgeting lessons for young adults leaving unstable homes. Schools purchased institutional subscriptions to Clear Equation Learning. Within 6 months, I reduced my classroom schedule to 2 days a week and opened a small education studio downtown. We offered affordable tutoring, teacher training, and weekend financial literacy workshops. Above the entrance, a sign read, "Clear Equation Learning. Every problem deserves honest work." Dad mocked the sign online. He wrote, "Some people build businesses on family betrayal." The post received 12 reactions. Most of the relatives who once laughed with him had become quiet. Silence, I learned, changes meaning when power shifts. Before, their silence protected him. Now it protected them from being associated with him. Vanessa's divorce became more difficult after Ryan's attorney introduced the records of manipulated audio and planned accusations. She did not lose her children. I did not want her to. But custody decisions included stricter communication rules, financial disclosures, and the use of a parenting application that preserved messages. She could no longer rewrite conversations without leaving evidence. Ryan eventually apologized to me. Not dramatically. He came to the education studio one evening carrying coffee. "I should have said something years ago." "Yes." "I knew they treated you badly." "Yes." "I told myself it wasn't my place." "It became your place when you benefited from it." He looked down.
I know. I appreciated that he did not ask me to absolve him. He simply accepted the truth. Over time, we developed a careful friendship centered around the children. Noah became interested in robotics. Chloe loved geometry. Mason remained convinced that numbers were suspicious. They visited the studio during Ryan's custody weeks. I never questioned them about Vanessa. I never asked them to choose. When Chloe once asked why Grandma said I had abandoned everyone, I answered, "Adults sometimes tell stories that make their choices easier to live with." "Did you abandon us?" "No." "Then why don't you come to Mom's house?" "Because I can love you without allowing adults to hurt me." She considered that. "Is that allowed?" "Yes." Children often understand boundaries faster than adults because they have not yet learned to confuse love with surrender. Mom attempted several apologies. The first arrived by email. "I'm sorry for anything I may have done that contributed to your perception of being excluded." I did not respond. The second was longer. She explained that Vanessa had been fragile, Dad had been difficult, and Mom had felt trapped in the middle. She wrote, "I should have protected both my daughters better." Both daughters. Even in apology, she could not name what happened without distributing the responsibility evenly. I did not answer. The third message came on Oliver's second birthday. "Please send one photograph. I am still his grandmother." I replied with a single sentence. "Do not contact me regarding my child again." Dad's messages were less subtle. At first, he threatened legal action for grandparent access. My attorney informed him that he had no existing relationship with Oliver and no legal basis for demanding one. Then he shifted to financial pressure. He claimed I owed him repayment for college. My college had been funded through scholarships, student loans, and part-time work. He sent an itemized invoice anyway. Housing during summer breaks, food from childhood, car insurance before age 18, birthday gifts. The total came to $86,430. At the bottom, he wrote, "Family support goes both ways." My attorney advised me not to respond. I framed the invoice and hung it in the private office at the education studio. Not because it was funny, because it reminded me that Dad had finally admitted how he viewed parenthood. As a debt. Vanessa tried a different strategy. She appeared on a small podcast and claimed the membership had been a joke that I took literally. The host asked why I made 6 payments if it was a joke. She said I enjoyed playing the victim. The host asked about the spreadsheet. Vanessa said spreadsheets could be manipulated. The host asked about the audio project files. Vanessa ended the interview early. Later, she sent me a furious message. "You ruined my reputation." I answered, "I showed your work." She did not contact me again for 8 months. The new wave of lies eventually slowed because lies require attention, and I had stopped supplying mine. My life became quieter. Not easy. Quiet. There were nights when I missed the idea of my mother. Not the woman who shared the fake audio. The mother I had imagined she might become. There were holidays when I wondered whether cutting them off made me cruel. Then I would remember Oliver's face circled in red. I would remember Dad saying, "That boy is my grandson," as though Oliver were property. I would remember Mom asking for a photograph instead of asking what she needed to repair. Grief did not mean the boundary was wrong. It meant the loss was real. Daniel and I argued sometimes. Exhaustion made us impatient. Business decisions frightened me. I struggled to trust success because every achievement once became an invitation for my family to demand more. When Clear Equation Learning received a large institutional contract, my first instinct was to hide the money. Daniel found me moving funds between accounts at midnight. "What are you doing?" "Separating operating reserves." "At midnight?" "I don't want anyone to know what we have." "Who?" I did not answer. He sat beside me. "They cannot reach this life." "I know." "Do you?" That question helped me recognize that leaving my family was not the same as removing them from my nervous system. I began therapy. Not because Vanessa had told everyone I needed help, because I chose help for myself. My therapist taught me that hypervigilance could survive long after danger. She taught me that calm might initially feel like waiting for punishment. She taught me to stop using exhaustion as proof that I deserved rest. Slowly, our house began to feel permanent. We planted a maple tree in the backyard when Oliver turned 2. Daniel built a small bookshelf shaped like a train. I painted one wall of the office dark green. We invited friends for dinner without worrying they would mock the furniture. No one asked what our home could do for them. No one invoiced us for belonging. Then, 3 years after the membership demand, Mom came to the studio. She arrived without warning on a Tuesday afternoon. I saw her through the glass door. She looked smaller. Her hair was almost entirely gray. For a moment, I became 32 again, standing at the dining table, hearing the price of my place. My receptionist asked whether she should call security. No. I stepped into the lobby. Mom's eyes filled with tears when she saw me. I only want 5 minutes. You were told not to contact me. I know. Then why are you here? Your father and I are separating. I felt nothing at first. Then a small, distant sadness. I'm sorry. He blames me for everything. That sounds familiar. She flinched. I deserve that. I waited. She looked around the studio. Children's artwork covered one wall. A group of students worked with a tutor behind the glass partition. You built all this. Yes. I'm proud of you. The words arrived years too late. They did not heal me. They did not even hurt. They simply existed. I need to say something, she continued. Your father controlled the atmosphere in our house. Vanessa learned from him. I kept telling myself that staying neutral protected everyone. You weren't neutral. I know that now. You shared the recording. I know. You helped plan it. I know. You watched them charge me to remain in the family. Her voice broke. I know. For the first time, she did not add an excuse. That mattered. It did not change the outcome. I am sorry, she said. Not for your perception, not for misunderstanding. I am sorry I betrayed you. I knew what they were doing. I knew you were the safest person to hurt because you kept coming back. I used your goodness against you. I had imagined hearing those words. In my imagination, I always cried. In reality, I remained calm. Thank you for saying it clearly. She looked hopeful. Could we start with coffee? No. The hope disappeared. I'm leaving your father. That is a decision for your life. I thought you might understand that people can wake up late. I understand. Then why won't you give me a chance? Because understanding you does not require giving you access to me. She closed her eyes. I'm still your mother. Yes. And that means nothing? It means your betrayal mattered more, not less. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she asked the question I knew was coming. Will I ever meet Oliver? No. The word was quiet. Final. Mom nodded as tears ran down her face. I suppose I earned that. This isn't about what you earned. It's about what protects him. She looked through the glass at the students. I wish I had protected you. So do I. She left without begging. I watched her walk to her car. I cried in my office afterward. Not because I regretted saying no, because sometimes a sincere apology arrives after the relationship it could have saved has already died. Oliver is 5 now. He loves dinosaurs, pancakes, and asking mathematical questions that do not have sensible answers. How many clouds are in the whole world? How old is the number 7? If 0 is nothing, why does it have a name? Sometimes I answer. Sometimes I tell him some questions are meant to stay interesting. He knows that I have parents. He knows we do not see them. For now, that is enough. One day he will ask for more. When he does, I will tell him the truth, without giving him the burden of my anger. I will tell him that families are made of people, and people sometimes choose control over love. I will tell him that sharing DNA does not create unlimited access. I will tell him that forgiveness can be private, and distance can be permanent. My father still posts occasionally. His audience has grown smaller. The last thing I heard was that he moved into a condo after the separation and tells neighbors he has one ungrateful daughter and one troubled daughter. He remains the hero of every story he tells. That is no longer my problem. Vanessa works now. The divorce forced her to confront expenses that had once been absorbed by everyone around her. She completed a bookkeeping certification, which felt almost comically appropriate. Ryan says she is more responsible with the children. I am glad. Growth does not entitle her to reconciliation, but I am glad the children benefit from it. Mom sends one card each year. No demands, no photographs requested, only her name. I keep them in a drawer. I do not know whether I will ever answer. Not every question requires an immediate solution. Clear Equation Learning now supports 12 full-time employees and more than 60 contract tutors. Our free financial literacy program has reached thousands of students. Every spring, we fund extracurricular activity grants for children whose families cannot afford registration fees. Soccer, music, art, robotics, summer programs. The first year we launched the grants, Lena asked what we should call the fund. I thought about the dining table. $700 a month. Family membership. Pay or disappear. I named it the Open Door Fund. No child or parent is required to perform gratitude publicly. No one is photographed without permission. No donor receives personal access to the recipients. Help is help. It is not ownership. On the wall beside the application desk, there is a small sign. Belonging is not a bill. Most people assume it is simply part of our educational philosophy. That is fine. I know what it means. For a long time, I blamed myself for allowing my family to use me. I replayed every payment, every free afternoon, every insult I laughed off, every moment I could have walked away sooner. Therapy helped me understand that shame often attaches itself to the person who survived because the people who caused the harm refused to carry it. I was not foolish because I loved them. I was not weak because I hoped. I was not responsible for the lies they created to keep me useful. But I was responsible for what happened after I saw the truth. So I left. Completely. I did not forgive my way back into the same room. I did not accept a late apology as a contract for renewed access. I did not introduce my son to people simply because they shared his blood. I did not return when Dad became lonely. I did not return when Mom finally admitted what she had done. I did not return when Vanessa improved. Their growth belongs to them. My peace belongs to me. Last month, I changed my phone number. The old one had been the same since college. Too many relatives still had it. Too many old messages lived there like unlocked doors. Daniel helped me transfer the contacts I wanted. Friends, colleagues, students' parents, Ryan, my attorney. No one else. When the new number activated, the silence felt strange. Then Oliver ran into the room wearing a cardboard dinosaur head and shouted, "Mom, you have to be the volcano!" I put the phone down. What does the volcano do? You explode, but in a friendly way. Daniel laughed from the kitchen. I chased Oliver around the living room while he roared. Later, after he fell asleep, I stood in the backyard beside the maple tree we had planted. Its branches were taller now. The house windows glowed behind me. Daniel was washing dishes. A mathematics book waited unfinished on my desk. Tomorrow, I would teach 2 classes, review grant applications, and take Oliver to the dentist. An ordinary life. A life no one was allowed to invoice. I once believed my family had taken years from me. Maybe they had. But they did not get the rest. I am not guilty because I was used. I am not ashamed because I stayed too long. I am not an account, a backup plan, an unpaid tutor, an emergency driver, or a monthly transfer. I am not a membership fee. I am Allison Carter. Teacher, wife, mother, builder of a life they know nothing about except what I choose to show. And the door to that life is not locked because I am bitter. It is locked because there is a child sleeping safely inside. For the first time, nobody is demanding that I prove I belong there. I simply do.